Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode. Today we're going to be talking about Bleach, a thousand year blood war. And as always, I have here my fellow Soul Reapers, Ramon
What's up, guys?
and Ro.
Bankai.
I'm very excited to talk about this anime, man, because I started watching Bleach back in the day when it was first airing on television along with Naruto. And I was very sad when I found out that they were ending the anime because the manga wasn't selling as well as it should have been. But now that it's back, I'm super excited to talk about it because I've been waiting for 10 years for the show to come back. And it's finally this, we finally got the opportunity to talk about it. Ramon, we sort of did an experiment with you, and we had you watch Bleach, knowing that you had not watched any Bleach before in the past. I think, to my understanding, before this episode, you thought bleach was the chemical that you used for cleaning, but I think now you have a clear understanding what bleach really is. So I can't wait to hear from you. Like, what did you think about Bleach, man? Did you love it? Hate it?
I'm like, no kidding. I was like, how am I gonna stare at Bleach for hours? Like, what? What does that even do? Which I could see consuming it might do something a little weird, but no.
Inhaling the fumes.
And inhaling the fumes. I'm like, that it's probably just like a way to just go into my spirit and figure out who I am. But no, I mean, yeah. So absolutely, Carlos, you're right. The Thousand Year Blood War. You're telling me to watch it. Obviously, I'm part of this beautiful podcast with you guys. I'm like, how am I going to talk about something that I haven't seen like seasons and seasons and seasons of, but just kind of knowing a little bit of the history as far as like, oh, this is going to be kind of a new arc or maybe the last arc. Just got me excited because I'm like, cool, even if I can't go back and watch every other season that's happened in the past, maybe I'll get caught up somehow, do a little bit of homework, and then go ahead and watch this and see how it goes, right? If anything, it'll be make for some interesting conversations. And in the spirit of experimenting, but not really, just, I wanted to check it out. I checked it out and I loved it, man. I loved it so much that I had to do some research and I had to go back and learn more about like Bleach in the past, like, kind of a not a tutorial, but a recap of every other season. And I can tell you just from all the knowledge that I've been gaining about Bleach, I'm going to start watching Bleach from the beginning now because I loved it that much. So yeah, it was good. It won me. There was a lot of things that won me over. I'm excited to talk about them. And I will sound like that newbie where I'm like, wait, what again? Like, who's this again? Like, what's that again? But, I got you two experts over here. So I'm excited to talk about it.
Well, that makes me really happy to hear from you, Ramon, because, I kind of been conning you this past 6 months into this podcast with my whole intent this whole time was for you to get you to watch Bleach. So my job has succeeded. I can finally quit the podcast now that I've gotten you to love Bleach. But, Ro, this has been the last episode. Tell us about how much you love Bleach.
We're talking about the Netflix live action Bleach movie, right? I'm kidding. No, so yeah, like I love the Thousand Year Blood War. I also started watching it back in the day when it was coming out every week. But I never made it past the espadas. And then now kind of when I started watching, I did actually start trying to watch the live action movie, and then I realized like I don't remember any of this. Like, oh, I forgot that there was a Chad and all this stuff. So I was like, ah. So then that's when I started watching Bleach again from the beginning because I realized I should start from the beginning, and then I ended up watching it through. This was maybe like a year, 2 years ago, and then when this came out, I loved it. I loved it because it was pretty much the same characters, but it was the brand new animation, and it was a whole new story, and it was made in a more concise manner that a lot of animes do now, instead of the way that they used to like try to stretch it out and then throw in a bunch of fillers periodically. But like now it's the more concise, that they're going by seasons, and it's a lot better way of maintaining the standard of quality for each episode and for each season or story or arc.
No, I agree with you. First of all, Ramon, don't ever look up the Bleach movies, but you're absolute.
I thought he was kidding. I didn't even know that was a real thing, but man.
Oh no, it is.
They're very
I
real.
watched like 10 minutes of it.
I saw the whole thing, but you're right, Ro. When they said like, "Hey, Bleach is coming back," like there was some concerns that maybe I didn't think about it, because we see a lot of times where somebody brings something back and it's just not what it used to be. Either the quality is not there, or they just kind of brought it back for a cash grab. This, to my surprise, this to my surprise, like Disney, because I think Disney, Hulu are the ones that own the rights to stream it. Dude, they threw every like they're like, hey, we want our own anime and we want you to bring Bleach back, and they threw every dollar that they could to make it look great. I love what they're doing now, as you said. Like, hey, instead of like stretching it and have this whole like you got to do an episode week by week by week by week, it's like no, tell us 13 episodes, animate them, do them really well, then take a break, and then we'll continue like 6 months later. And that's what's happening right now. Like we're gonna get part 2 next week, I believe, on July 6th, 7th. So I'm really excited for it, man, because I can tell you just by the quality that we've gotten in these past 13 episodes that I can already know the quality for the next episodes are gonna be great. Um, but let's continue this bad boy, Ramon. I mean, any questions that you have, this is the time to like talk about them, or if you want to just start from the beginning and see what the show meant to you as you were watching them, feel free to just like let us know, man. We're here to help you out.
No.
I am kind of curious about something, Ramon. So like, so you, I guess before we start to this, what? Because I know that you did some research before you actually started watching the season. So what did you get from the research or the background?
So it's funny, right? Because I haven't even gone and watched all the Bleach yet, but just off of this Dozen Year Blood War, I'm already telling people to go watch it. So I do have to have a little bit of a sales pitch, right? And I guess that's what I learned, right? So I think to me, I think the biggest story and what's kind of cool about it is that has to do with like different races, different groups of people who all have an idea of how to treat like these lost souls. So, you know, we have the hollows, right? Like the people who basically are dead or die, and then it's a difference whether they turn into hollows or they just kind of go to the soul society as souls. And you know, people like the group like the Shinigami have the sole mission of keeping that balance, because without that balance, the whole world goes to shit, right? And then there's people like the Quincy's that are freaking like crazy. They call them humans, but I'm like, what kind of humans have freaking spiritual arrows that, you know, use this power? And you know, so especially going into this 1,000-year blood war, just knowing that it's like two of these crazy groups fighting it out for what they believe they should do with hollows and how that affects the balance of the and existence of the world, pretty cool. As far as like all my past or the research on the past Bleach, it's just crazy, man. There's things that I just want to know more. Like I love that, you know, I love like my demons, my devils, my hollows now. And I think that's one of the things that's exciting about it. It's like how people get to that point. I love like martial arts and anything having to do with like swords. So I think the whole idea of like their sanpakutos and like their bankai and their powers that they do and like this whole thing, amazing also. And then the final thing is Ichigo, right? Like I didn't know how I was gonna like Ichigo, and I think we talk enough in this podcast and individually with each other like about main characters that we don't like in other anime series. And surprisingly, like at least in the 1,000-year blood war, I do like Ichigo like pretty much. So you know, anyway, so some history in there and some things, but
no, dude, like Ichigo Kurosaki, he is like my Naruto, man. Like that's how much I love him. I don't know if it was just because of the fact that he's a little bit more adult, or he starts off already being a little bit like where Naruto, you meet him as a young child. With Ichigo, he's already in that almost like high school, maybe about to like finish it. So I like that about him. I always kind of just...
He was 15.
Oh, he was 15. Oh gosh. I mean, they make these characters just seem like they're almost like about to like start drinking. But you know, the one thing about Bleach that surprised me when it came back, Ramon, it's that I don't ever remember it being as bloody as it was. It's almost like they came back and said, hey, we want this to be R-rated. And it's almost like it became one of those things like, ooh, like Ro, like I'm not sure if you had your son watching this with you, but it is a little bit concerning because there are scenes where people's heads are being like either blasted off, cut off. I mean, we see the head captain. He just got kind of sliced, like you know, like just in half. So it's just kind of like a spoiler alert. But it's just like things came back, and they came back very dark. And I don't think that's when the kind of sense you get for the first 2 episodes. But like when the Quincy's invade Soul Society, it gets fucking crazy, dude. And it's kind of crazy because the Quincy's were always sort of a joke. So the idea of them coming in and actually being able to like destroy and kill all these Soul Reapers was freaking insane. But again, I love this anime so much. Ro, I mean, come on, where do we start with this, or what else do you have to say about it?
No, and then I guess another thing to add that I realized when I did my rewatch a couple of years ago is that so like the other animes, they, well, at least with the old school animes, like with Dragon Ball Naruto, One Piece, their music is a certain type of music, and then Bleach was kind of like the first like heavy, like more rock, a lot more like electric guitar. And then when I started watching it from the beginning, like that one guitar riff that they always use, I fell in love with it. And then and even with this one, with the Thousand Year Blood War, like I still like the music. More recently, I've been listening to a lot more like anime music.
Yeah.
But yeah, like there's a few songs in Naruto, but like during the show, it's the in Naruto it's a lot more Japanese, and in One Piece it's more like poppy. And Dragon Ball, I don't even remember what kind of music that they had. But yeah, like with this, they always kind of had a more like rock filled,
Yeah.
and I don't
Well,
know,
like
it just kind of.
I know there's one song which like has the violin, and I really love it. Like I don't know what it is or exactly what moment right on top of my head, but it's like they do
It
a
might be a
violin,
violin.
but it's
Yeah.
it's so good, man. Like everything about I'm telling you, it's like the animation, the boys, the quality of the imagery. Like I was looking, like I don't want to get to the very last episode, where at the very last episode where Ichigo's finally talking to old man Sengetsu and they're saying goodbye, and they're in that world that you probably don't even understand where they're really communicating, Ramon, but they're in that world and there's all this glass like flying around them and you can see like their reflection, and I'm like, dude, like this must have, like somebody must have spent so much time animated those little details, and it's just incredible. But it's just like, I want to say the last episode with the old man Sengetsu was really, really well animated, and I love the whole idea of like them being underwater, and it's just like it blew me away, man. This whole season just blew me freaking away hardcore.
See, and then I was kind of a little afraid. And again, before we actually start, but it's just like it's one of those things where I'm like, man, like I hope I don't go back and watch like the regular Bleach and then just not be as excited, because I do understand the difference of like new production, right? Current, like all this like money and technology going into it, or at least more time spent into the animation. But I think what I did miss is that experience, and you guys sound like you guys have it. Like the whole, like with me and watching Naruto recently, right? Like the whole 720 episodes. It's like I grew to love a lot of the characters. I grew to like recognize the songs, to really be into the songs, to really just again connect with the anime. And again, I'm already like a fanboy of this like new arc, that I'm just like, oh, I have to go back, because it's like it doesn't feel right. Like it's so good that I need to have that experience. I need to have that connection, like Carlos and Raul, because dude, it's yeah, you're right. This arc, like this season is so good that I'm like, I'm not doing it justice if I don't know the rest of it. Especially Ichigo's like growth, like
Yeah. Well, dude, you texted us, and you were kind of like, one of your questions was like, is Old Man Sengetsu related to the Quincy King leader? And honestly, dude, even though I've known Old Man Sengetsu, and I was always surprised that that's the way his manifestation of his Sanpato looked like, it never really hit me to where it finally becomes that final moment. You're like, of course he looks just like.
It's funny because
Exactly.
talking from men, or at least I don't know, Raul, you don't change the facial hair too much, but I'm always going like Carlos, like one day I'm like almost clean shaven, the next like 2 days later I have like a full grown beard. So it's like, believe me, I saw him and I'm like, dude, I just looks like the Quincy guy, but like David, like so. But no, I mean that clearly, I mean towards the end of that, like finding that out even without all that other context was pretty significant to me. But again, I want to see those connections that Ichigo has with him, and then I know even I think the hollow version of that, like in his Senpakuto, it's also like huge. So I want to see it all. But for right now,
Okay.
let's the series.
Okay, yeah. So I guess we'll actually start talking about this series.
It's now. It's
So
at 14 minutes.
yeah.
It starts now.
So the first thing that at least for me that I kind of noticed is that there's been kind of like a time skip of some sort, but you still can't really tell how much time has passed from the ending of the show to the beginning of this, because it seems like Ichigo's probably not going to school anymore. So he must have graduated, or I don't know what happened exactly. But we know that he has a job, and then there's like a completely different person. It's not the Afro guy that's patrolling the town anymore. It's some other lady or whatever, but Ichigo, he has his powers. Oh, by the way, Ramon, at the end of the original Bleach, there's a whole process because he lost his powers and then he ends up getting them back.
Yeah.
So yeah, like so he has his new Senpakuto or whatever, and then everybody is like super strong now. Like Chad and Orihime and him and they're all pretty strong. And it seems that like these newer Soul Reapers don't really know who Ichigo is. And he's kind of started. They're kind of starting off like patrolling this area because there's a new recruit and their like teacher.
No, Ro, I didn't. You started way in the beginning, and I don't think just because we're gonna try to do this in like 45 minutes more, I don't think we gonna have to like break down every episode like that. But he's right, Ramon.
We're going to.
There's a lot of stuff like that, Ramon, that it's impossible for me to even like waste like 5 minutes trying to explain to you about how Ichigo lost his power, even though it's almost impossible not to tell you these things. But the first episode, I mean, it's kind of, think about it, it's very hard to all of a sudden be like, all right, Bleach is back, how do we start it? But it does kind of start off with, hey, Ichigo's just hanging out in his room, guy comes in, kicks his ass, and the whole purpose behind that is that the Quincy's have figured out how to steal the Soul Reapers like Bankai. So that's the whole purpose in the beginning of this whole arc. It's just like they're coming in and they're trying to steal their Bankai, and they know that Ichigo's like a special case, so they want to steal his Bankai, but it's like after like 2 attempts they just can't do it. Sorry, Ro, you had a question?
Yeah. So quick question about that too, because something that I noticed when they stole I think the sixth Rukia's brother. So when they steal the Bankai, they pretty much stole like all the power of the Sanbakuto, right?
Yeah, they still.
Because when they try to use it, or after they stole it, like the captains could only use the regular sword without any type of powers. Yeah. And then it looked like the Quincy's were using like even the regular Sanbakuto named power without the Bankai.
Well, like I know with Bakuga's his name. He's the guy who has the rose petals, Ramon. That his Bankai is like he can release these thousands of petals, and in reality, you don't know it, or unless you did some research, but they're actually blades. So every rose petal is a representation of a blade. So it's like you're getting cut with thousands of blades when he does this like rush, almost like Gaara. Yeah. But that's the cool thing about like Bleach, man. Like I would say like one of the coolest words in any anime is when anybody says the word Bankai. Like it's just, and like
everybody says it differently, and I love that.
And it's so incredible because it's just like it brings shivers. So like honestly, if my wife wanted to ever get me to do something for her, she just has to come up to me in my ear and be like, "Hey, Bankai," and then like all of a sudden I'll do whatever she wants me to do. But don't tell her that little secret. But like what did you think about this whole like Bankai abilities that these captains can do?
No, well, it's funny because like I literally been saying Bankai in my head and even out loud at work for the last couple of days. And even came home from work today, I'm like Bankai because I'm like getting so excited to talk about it. But it is funny. It is something that it does to you, right? Well, I don't know. Just coming out of watching like Jujutsu Kaisen and seeing like the domain expansion, it did remind me a little bit of that, right? Because that you guys been talking about Bankai for a while, and I was like, what is Bankai? And Carlos like, no, when you trying to educate me about Bleach before and trying to get me to watch it, you were elaborating a little bit where it kind of made sense to me, but again, until you see certain Bankais, totally not what I expected. It was way better. I love the idea that everyone has a different Bankai and that they're like not only like that, like you're talking the rose petals and those are like different little blades, and then obviously when we saw the old man captain, like his Bankai was like fucking crazy.
Oh, yeah.
And it just, I mean, before we even get to like talk about that, just that episode alone, like I just by the end of it, I'm like, dude, I want to see all of them. Like I want to see everyone in existence, even if I can't remember what they do, because they seem like some of them are very memorable. Because it's just, like you play a video game, you do something and you hit like that special move, and that's what that seemed like. But I mean, awesome.
And my second rewatch, that was something that I kind of like threw me off a little, the idea that they depend so much on their Bankais. Because in reality, Ramon, if I'm being honest, some of these captains don't really even have to do Bankai or even like kick some ass. Example, him with the rose petals, he rarely needs to rely on that. So the idea that like, oh, I don't have my Bankai, so now I cannot win. Or even the guy that Toshiro, the ice little kid, he's like, oh, my Bankai got stolen, so now I can't do nothing. It's like, dude, you guys have always been talented. So this idea that you needed your Bankai to win was a little bit ridiculous to me. But again, it's a good way to move the story forward and like have these captains steal their Bankais. There's the one girl that's like an assassin looking girl. She's a little bit, I would say her character looks very Asian, just the way she's dressed. And I think even her clan's like a little bit more of that inspire. Um,
Fong.
Fawn, but like her Bankai, if you kind of caught a glimpse of it, Ramon, like she hates her Bankai. She doesn't even like using her Bankai. Her Bankai is disgusting to her. If she could get rid of it, she would get rid of it. So the idea that like she was able to use Bankai and get it stolen and now she can't fight, is like, dude, first of all, you don't even like your Bankai. You don't even depend on it. Your whole thing is that you can like do really quick moves and have all this like other way of fighting style. So it's just kind of a little bit funny when it comes to this whole like, now that they don't have Bankais, they're useless. Like, come on, dude, be real.
Yeah, I mean, that was one good thing, but I think at least watching this for the first time, before I think I started seeing Bankais and some of these like Soul Reapers in action, seeing the Quincy's in action was crazy. And I know you guys said that this is like a different group or a more superior like group of Quincy's, because the past people have described them as like they're just like humans who have these powers, but they're kind of jokes, right? And no, not these guys. I mean, that's within the first couple episodes. Yeah, you have the one Quincy that ends up finding Ichigo, but then that second one, that general in Hueco Mundo, that I love. Like when I was watching that scene, I think that's what first woke me up to all this, because it was bloody, it was crazy, it was violent.
So cool.
Yeah, it was like super crazy, and like especially that scene where he has were they Soul Reapers? Yeah, it was the Soul Reapers like lined up, or whoever he had lined up in the ground
on the Rancor.
Yeah. The Rancor.
Oh, the Rancor. Yeah, he had them like. Oh, yeah, that's right. He had them lined up on the ground, and he's like, you need to deliver this message, and if they don't, get it, then this is what's gonna happen to you. He kills one, and then he kills another one, and then he kills another one, and he's just going. I'm just like,
let me show you.
Fucking crazy. And
this is what would happen. This is what would happen. This is what would happen.
And again, because my lack of like knowledge from like just not watching the previous like Bleach. But I kind of love the idea that we're like making these guys like even more evil by making them like German in sorts, right? They use a lot of German words. Clearly, he looks like a little bit like a Nazi, and it was just so intense. I mean, it's like we have to mention it at least once. There's always something crazy dude who thinks it's a Nazi.
Even their Quincy little symbol kind of looks like a Hitler thing too.
That's swastika. Yeah, it's true. It was crazy, but that was the first moment that I was kind of like, oh man, this is really good already. Like this is like the introduction where it's like I kind of knew enough to be like, oh, if this is a guy who's eliminating a bunch of people, this is some badass dude. And then knowing that he works for someone else, then you always want to know who's that one that's in charge. I'd also liked the three girls that came, the Rancars that came to try to fight them, and they were super strong as well. The one part where they kind of cut off their left arms in order to create that bigger like hollow or whatever they created. Like, dude, all that stuff just had me like crazy, because that guy, like that Quincy, just freaking, I just surpassed my expectations about like kind of, I guess not low level bad guy, but I guess he's a general, but like that kind of like general vibe that he had. He was that strong. I was really excited to see who was next. So,
dude, and if you think about it too, so like those generals, like so what it seems with the Quincy's is they use a different letter. So I'm guessing there's like about 26 different generals or whatever. Because I think he was J or something. I don't remember.
But I don't just like the fact that they all have like a letter. It's like the letter itself means something. Like him, he was the J or whatever. So his whole purpose was to trap Ichigo, and I like that. I like the fact that you don't know what you're gonna get with some of these. Some of them were disappointing. The ones that especially Kenpachi was able to just kill so easily.
He did. He walked in with a bunch of them. He's like, oh, kill this one, kill this one.
Yeah, but if you do think about it, that'll show you how strong Kenpachi is, because but also keep in mind, so that one form that Jay used when he was fighting Ichigo, and the three Rancor and everybody, so Uryu or whatever his name is, the Quincy, so he did that once, but whenever you do that, you lose your Quincy powers. So he ended up doing that because his whole purpose was to either defeat Ichigo or like hold him up so that he can't reach the Soul Society in time to save everyone.
And these are
Ichigo's technically like the strongest, or at least potentially the strongest out of all the Soul Reapers.
But I do feel like these are different level of Quincy's, where I would be surprised if they can do that and still regain their Quincy abilities. Where with Ashida, it was like, oh, if I use this special move, like I'll lose my powers completely. But dude, that was also something cool that happened in the first episode. Dude, I love the fact that like they invaded the Captain Yayamoto's office, and they fucking killed
Off
his
Oh,
lieutenant.
yeah.
And the way they invaded it, it's like they came in and they're like, this is like no security here. It's like, I don't need security because I am the fucking security. But that was like the most perfect way to have started this whole thing. Like, I just love the idea of like, out of nowhere, they just show up, and I still like, you guys don't even know how they're even able to do that whole teleportation instantly to Soul Society. So I can't wait for them to explain that. Yeah, with the shadows.
Dude, and if you think about it too, like that lieutenant has to be at his like captain strength.
Oh yeah,
to begin with.
Oh,
and he had a Bankai. And by the way, like most Soul Reapers don't have Bankais. There's very, very few. It's all the captains, like except Kenpachi, and then because having a Bankai is a requirement to be a captain, except Kenpachi. And then only like some lieutenants have Bankais, not even all the lieutenants.
Yeah. Like because Ranji's the one with the red hair, the one that goes with Ichigo with the Zero Squad. Like he also has a Bankai, and you didn't get to see it, Ramon. And I don't know if you kind of got a glimpse of what it looks like, but I'm gonna tell you, like, that's like, trust me though, like he's gonna become so cool. Like, he's actually somebody that I cannot wait to see him fight again, because he's gonna pretty much shed the title of lieutenant and become like, he has to be a captain going forward because he's so strong at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I did want to ask more about him later, because obviously he ended up there with Ichigo. So I'm like, oh, what? Not necessarily what makes him so special, but like, what do you guys think is going to happen with him? Because
determination, man. With him, it's all about determination and trying to say, kind of almost same motivation as Ichigo, because he got his Bankai because both Ichigo and him were trying to save Rukia, because they were gonna execute Rukia, and they both became strong to save her. So that's how he was able to get his Bankai.
He's kind of like the Sasuke to Ichigo's Naruto.
He doesn't seem as cool.
I would say no. I would say
personality wise, but role type.
No. I 100%. I think Bakuga is Ichigo's Sasuke, because Bakuga and Ichigo, like, they always go head to head.
Personality, yes.
But they also like are completely matched. Like, always, like, they don't ever definitely say who's stronger. They always kind of end on a tie. So to me, he's the one that's more of his Sasuke.
Fine, he's the Lee too.
Yeah. Quick question. Rukia sounds familiar. Is that the one who gave Ichigo her power in the beginning?
Yeah.
Okay. In the very, very beginning. Okay, cool.
And you don't get a lot from her, but you know, she's not a love interest to Ichigo. It's not that. If anything, maybe more to Renji.
Kind of is.
She's like his, I don't know, her. Wait till you see the show and you tell me what you think she is. But it's like, I don't know, it's just it's weird. But they did make some mentions of her, and you saw her, and you know, they took her also. Zero Squad took her with them, so she is probably also going to become a lot stronger next time.
But she was super hurt too, though.
Yeah, she got hurt
along with her brother.
Yeah. And it's not her real brother. It's he married her sister, and then her sister died, and then he took her as like his sister, pretty much.
Got it. It doesn't name sound familiar.
Kind of as a ward. You could say she was adopted by that family.
So then, as far as the Quincy's, like, so the powers that I've seen so far, is this obviously the whole stuff where they control the Reggie and they make the arrows and they have like these staffs and crazy stuff. I did see somewhere that it is like you said, Iryu, or who's the one guy that you mentioned?
Uryu,
in that ability that you said that he used that took away his powers. Like I heard somewhere that these Quincy's don't, perhaps too. But then is that power the blue? The one that's like armor type thing, is that new to these guys, or is that something that other Quincy's had?
No, the whole Reshi, I forget what it's called.
The blue.
Yeah. Oh, the blue. I don't know if it's because again, the Quincy's again always kind of being a joke. They just all you really knew about them was that they got exterminated 200 years ago, but that wasn't, I guess, dumb. Like it was like more of a cheetah's family, like his grandfather and all that got exterminated. But then, like, these Quincy's are from, like, when the king used to be alive. So, obviously, they were more powered up because of him. So, like, they're almost, like, hard for me to tell you what they can and cannot do.
Well, I just like that idea of the blue, because it seemed, like, really impactful to the battles, right? Because even, like, the other Soul Reapers, as they were fighting these Quincy's, were like, what is that power, right? Because they would absolutely stop the attacks. And all of a sudden, like, they would block, they would have the armor type. And then, you know, obviously towards the end of the season, you actually see that even Ichigo has the blue too, which obviously when you find out like why he does, it makes so much sense. Yeah. But again, this is a newbie here, and I'm just like, oh, cool, blue's just a thing that the Quincy's can do. But it just sounds like it's significant because not even the Soul Reapers at their battles know that the blue is a thing. But that was pretty cool because I mean that's like an armor or
no, dude. And the other thing too about the Quincy's that I kind of learned or noticed in this season too. So there's like I guess more pure bloodlines that are supposed to be more powerful. So Ishida's dad it comes from a family that has that powerful bloodline, and Ichigo's mom is also like from a powerful bloodline, but I think she was the last one. Um, so that's why Ichigo's mom was supposed to marry Urio's dad to kind of maintain the two bloodlines or whatever, and to continue to make I guess powerful Quincy's since they're all like almost gone.
I thought it was so funny at the end where like Ichigo's dad has to make the decision to give up being a Soul Reaper, and he's like, I have to do it because I'll never be able to forgive myself, which kind of goes back to the lines that she had said, and it's like, and then it hits him in the face like, fuck, like I totally fucked up with her.
Like you leave defeated because you know they're meant to be. Yeah, that was a really great moment. That was just kind of funny.
Yeah, he's always been a jerk, dude, and I think he's obviously been pissed off at the fact that he didn't get with her, and I don't know if he just never really had love interest for the maid, even though the maid legitimately like loved him. But it's like, yeah, he's always been a dick to Ishida. He's always just been like a total jerk. Yeah,
I never saw that.
I think it was more of a like suppressed emotion type of thing where like he had a duty and then he was just gonna do his duty, and because he was more about like the Quincy. But also if you think about it, like his dad, which was Urio's grandpa, who's actually the one that trained Urio to be a Quincy, like he was the one that went against the rest of the Quincy's and didn't want to follow that plan. If you noticed anywhere in the season, because that's why their family's still alive, because they killed all the other Quincy's, because he didn't want to go and exterminate pretty much everyone and destroy the two things.
Yeah.
All right. I want to start talking about the battle, man, because I think that's the episode when Ro and Ramon, if I'm not correct, that's probably where like like episode 6, right? No, sorry, episodes. It's the fire. The fire. Yeah. Oh my God. Sorry, apologies. The fire.
That's okay. I'm like, no, what are you talking about?
I think that's when you realize, like, holy shit, like this show is truly amazing, and like, what am I watching? And before I kind of because I want you, Ramon, to tell me what you thought of it. Like, the thing that I liked about it, Ramon, is that when you do go back and watch Bleach, like Aizen was always meant to be like the bad guy and the most powerful. And to me, I'll tell you later in the episode how much I love Sasuke Aizen. But it was a very disappointing when Ichigo finally fought him. If anything, it was like the worst fight that they could have had, because after 200 and something episodes, like their fight didn't mean anything. People hated it. It wasn't meaningful in any way. But here, the idea that now you get the Quincy leader and he's fighting the Captain Yayamoto, and it's an incredible fight, and you understand why this Quincy leader is so powerful, and he's not somebody to like take him as a joke. I like that. I like the fact that we didn't have to wait 200 episodes to like see the Quincy leader fight, and then all of a sudden it's a disappointment. Here, right off the bat, we got an amazing, great fight with him, and I respect him. He almost reminded me of Superman, the way he fought. It was just like so cool, like the cape. I think the cape did a lot for me, if I'm being honest.
Capes are great. I mean, honestly, so yes, that episode is, I think, the episode that really made me want to really like watch everything that has to do with Bleach, because like to your point, right? You're telling me to watch this arc for the first time ever and just without any other history. And I still did my homework just because I don't want to feel stupid, not know completely anything when I'm watching it. But it's like, I started watching that episode, and I love that I was like sitting here, I'm like, wait a minute, isn't this head captain supposed to be like the most badass? And then you got the freaking Quincy leader, like, so the most like ultimate people that I know already, but I assume that they were kind of like the most ultimate people thus far, and already you get to see a fight. And not only just a fight, I thought it was going to be like a little confrontation, but it was a whole freaking epic battle. Like love the idea that you're basically watching a fight that took place in 2 different time eras, right? Because they were showing all the flashbacks as you were going, like what, 1,000 years ago, or like was it? Yeah, because it was after 900 years that he was born. Okay, so like 1,000 years ago. So you're watching this fight start, right? In the beginning, I'm like, oh, this old captain, like, dude, like obviously, and you guys have mentioned him before, how like this old man is for sure a badass, right? So I knew that. But then you start seeing his like past self, and he's already a badass, and then you see this kind of like back and forth between the back and the past and the present, and that won me over just because it really gave it so much beef. It's like if you just condense like history and you just like, here you go, here's showing a little capsule, a little food pill, and took it. But no, man, the actual fighting, but most importantly, the old man's the head captain, like Bankai, like freaking crazy. Because even when he flew from the palace or wherever he was at to that fight, he landed and his like sandals, his like shoes were like on fire, and I'm like, was he going that quick? And at that point I didn't know that his Bankai and everything had to do with fire, so I was just like, man, was he that quick that whatever, he's like freaking flaming? But as soon as he starts doing more and more, and you see like the level of the flames, and then when he starts describing how hot it is, like 200 million degrees Fahrenheit, because I know Celsius was a little less, so Fahrenheit has to be like 200 million, like crazy amount. And I'm just like, dude, that's like, yeah, like the freaking heat of the sun. And then I think most importantly, once he finally did the actual where like all the heat is compressed into all the air and everything's compressed into the
all the water evaporated everywhere.
Yeah, and it's just like seeing that was so beautiful, because you see all these people around the Soul Society start to notice that they're like, oh, what's going on? And you see that, and like for the people that know his like Bankai and everything, they know what's going on, but like the other people are like, what's going on? Like everything's evaporating. And then when he describes it, that everything is like basically at the edge of his sword, it was crazy, man. Like I've never had the privilege of cosplaying to that degree, but I can tell you guys, the next time you take me somewhere, that's who I'm going to be. I'm going to be the freaking head captain, man.
Yeah.
So,
all you got to do is get
a
longer beard, get bald.
Give me those long eyebrows, the long white mustache, and the beard, man. Like tie it up a little bit, get some scars going on, and then a flaming sword.
All you need is a robe and and a sword.
Easy. But no, that was a beautiful episode, man. And then obviously they fight and all this crazy stuff, and oh man.
Like, Ro, I know you didn't watch the filler arcs of Bleach, but like, Ramon, throughout Bleach, there's 3 arcs where like their whole purpose is like, we have to seal Captain Yamamoto's like Bankai, or else we can't do our plan because we're gonna get fucked. Like this guy can just come in and like totally kills us. So you got Aizen that does it, where he like finds a way to seal his Bankai, and then you have a filler where this guy's Bankai is the ability to take away, I think, your Bankai to begin with. So then he kind of like, his whole motivation is like, I want to kill Captain Yamamoto. And he's able to do it because he's able to seal his Bankai with his own Bankai. And then you got this one where like, hey, like, we're going to get to like the spoiler, but it's like you find out that he's not even really fighting the real Quincy leader. And it's just like kind of freaking sucks. But like, he knew it. He knew if he fought him at his even if he's an old man, he knew he would have lost. So like they needed to come up with a plan to like take him down, because it's just like, he's just that incredible. And he was right. Like he lost because he just became so proud, or I guess even maybe the fact that there's been peace for so long. I don't know, but it's like, like I feel like had he been in his prime, like he should have never lost to that match.
No, and kind of how they explained, because back 1,000 years before that, like he was a lot more brutal, but because they had all that time without like a giant war like that, he kind of softened up. So that's kind of what allowed all that to happen.
Isn't he
he kind of became softer? Huh?
Isn't he like 2,000 years old too? By the way, like
I mean, he's got to be older than
that. That's crazy.
Because because the guy that becomes the new head captain, he's at least 1,000 years old too.
Okay,
him and the sick guy.
Yeah, like I don't know how the aging works in Bleach, but you have to assume that when we saw those flashbacks of him being 1,000 years ago, he must have already been like 68 in human years or whatever, So it's just probably like why he looks so much different than even like the Uhura, which also was one of the first original Gotei.
So maybe once they end up in the Soul Society, they stop aging, or they age slower, or something like one of those things.
Slow, yeah. So Uhura must have been like maybe like early 20s or late 20s, where he was probably already like up there.
And quick question: where did he lose his arm? Because I noticed that he didn't have an arm. Oh, okay. So I need to go back to watch that for sure.
Yeah.
No, I mean that whole thing. Oh man, just the way that battle ended too was really great. Like you said, obviously you found out too that it wasn't even. Again, we said it would be so difficult to pronounce his name.
Watch
or Wawa. No, but no, like yeah, like yeah. But and again, that was another name that surprised me, right? Because I'm watching it with subtitles, and then eventually when I watch it like in English, I'm just like, how did you get that out of that? It's so weird. But again, that ass guy, I'm not even doubting it. I don't want him to show up and just whoop my ass. So but just like that, him finding out that like he finally defeats him, and then to turn out that it wasn't even him, that was just crazy. I mean, like I think that episode was just so crazy to me because again, like you mentioned, it's so epic. So to me, I'm just kind of already sitting here like, how can you even like give me this much and it's the beginning of this, or like not the middle of the season, but like, you know, I assume, I don't know how many parts there are to this arc in general, but like I mean, it seems pretty early on to give me a freaking crazy ass battle like that, but it won me over. So
and I like the fact that all this time while, you know, I think it was the Stern writer yourself, like he was fighting him, he was actually like going down and talking to Sasuke Aizen at the prison level. And what did you think about that? Like, I love the way they changed it up in this interpretation, because he reminds me more of Evangelion, the way he's just tied and sealed away. But what did you think about Sasuke Aizen, like right off the bat, Ramon? Like, you've never had any interaction with him, so what did you think about him?
Well, I think seeing him in that episode reminded me of like Hannibal Lecter, like kind of the type of thing, right? Like he's so dangerous that you have to have him like tied up, like mouth guard, like everything. But in reality, right? But in reality, even when I was watching like the recaps, they never made him seem like that crazy. Like I got that he was like the main like kind of bad guy, so to speak. Like I got his whole mission. I got what he was trying to do and why he thought he was entitled to be like the leader of it all and do all that. I want to watch it, right? But at the same time, I'm like, damn, what did I miss from those recaps to like that point? Because he seems like he was so dangerous by the way they had him tied up and locked up. So to me, and just the fact that you'd have someone like the leader, the Quincy's, that he see him as so significant that he needs to go pay him a visit and ask him to like join or be right, because that was the initial point of it, right?
Yeah,
it was like,
then he refused. It was like, dude. And then I just love the whole idea that while he was there, he messed with his whole time. Like he messed it up. So even though he's tied up, shouldn't be able to do anything, he still messed with his whole time perception. Like, I fucking love Aizen.
Dude, Roman, do you know what Aizen's power is?
Oh yeah, do you know?
Not right now. No.
Do you want a spoiler?
No, tell him.
I mean,
tell him.
Okay. So his spoiler, pretty much, he alters reality, or your perception of reality.
No, got it wrong.
Yeah, yes, he does.
So Aizen's power is that he affects, once you're able to see his sword for the first time, he affects your 5 senses. So it's, in a way, it's reality, what it looks like to you, but
your
not
perception of reality.
But but not like, it's not like the world's changing, or if you think like, you know, it's like somebody might be looking at you that hasn't seen Sasuke Aizen's blade, and might be like, what are you looking at? They're like, oh, we're here in my room, and to you, you're somewhere else, because his whole thing is he can manipulate your 5 senses.
So, that's crazy. So then, like you said, so it's not like necessarily reality, but it's the perception of it.
Smell, everything.
Like Genjutsu, like in freaking Naruto, because like in Genjutsu,
So I would say is that, but on another even level, because you really you cannot escape it whatsoever. So the moment you look at him, the moment you got a glimpse of it, like there's no escaping it. Like, you think you stabbed them, you actually stabbed your best friend. You think you're fighting him, you're actually fighting somebody else. It's just like, it's crazy. It's just like he can make you almost do anything. It's that's why he's so dangerous.
Yeah, and then all you got to do is see it once, and then you're controlled forever. Or
that's awesome.
He can control you forever, or your perception of everything.
That makes so much sense. Yeah.
There is a way for you to be able to know that you're actually seeing what you should be seeing, that I remember when I talked to Raul, he didn't know it. And maybe that I won't spoil to you, but there is a way to like know that what you're looking at is really what you're looking at. So I won't spoil that for you.
I want to check that out, because I mean, even like in Naruto, the genjutsus were always so crazy to me, because the idea that
like
you can just kind of hold... especially Itachi's with freaking Oh my god! Anyways, towards the end,
Mangekyo Shonen good.
yeah.
Well, dude,
yeah.
if you could give me a minute, I just want to tell you really quick just how I love Orochimaru and Naruto. Like Sasuke Aizen and Ramon is my favorite bad guy of anything. Like I said this to Raul that if you were to put him in a battle royal with anybody you want, Madara, Naruto, any Jujutsu, even freaking from Jujutsu Kaisen, I think Sasuke
Gojo?
Aizen, Gojo would win. Not because he's the most powerful, because his Bankai would just make you believe that you had killed him, and in reality, he would just be waiting at the very end. But Sasuke Aizen himself is very special. Like, they made it a point to say that since he was a kid, he's always been, like, on another level. Like, he's just been very talented. Something that you didn't get a sense on this arc, Ramon, is that in Bleach, they actually do incantations of spells. So depending on how strong the incantation is, you almost have to read a whole chapter to be able to do an incantation. If you're a captain, you might be able to get away with saying like incantation number 17, blah, 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 and then it'll happen. So depending how powerful you are, you might have to say, yeah, you might have to say like less words, but with Aizen, he's so powerful, he doesn't even have to speak the name of it. He can just like summon it. Like he can maybe just say like incantation number 2, and he'll just immediately summon that incantation. So he is very strong, very powerful. It's just, again, you kind of didn't give him that proper fight at the very end with Ichigo, but you know, he's still alive. He's still a player, so we'll see where we kind of see him going forward.
Now you're making me think if he's gonna get out somehow, and then because I mean his ultimate thing is that he did want to be like the main guy, or like he wanted to be like the leader, or like just control everything. Like, was that his point in the past?
He wanted to kill the king, the king of Soul Society. He wanted to just eliminate him. So okay. I don't know what you do after that, but yeah, he wanted to eliminate him.
It just makes me think there's still potential, but that's exciting though, because like the way you're describing him absolutely makes sense why he's tied up like that, and yeah, just seeing the effect that he had on the Quincy guy, like I'm just like, dude, that's pretty crazy, but we'll see.
All right, Ro, lead us into Kenpachi, Ro. You got this,
dude.
That
fight was peak fighting.
But feel free to tell Ramon about Kenpachi, because even to understand him.
The cool thing that we discovered about the other captain is that like the what's her name, Retsu Unohana, yeah, is that really like the only reason she learned how to heal people was that she could elongate fights. So she was the first Kenpachi, and then she found the new Kenpachi, and he pretty much was strong enough to beat her. And we had so many discoveries in this, because so we did mention before that that Kenpachi was the only captain that didn't ever have a Bankai. He goes around with an eye patch. This eye patch pretty much eats at his at his like soul power, so that he's like not as strong, because he's too strong. And then he goes into this battle with this other captain already with it off, because he knows how strong she is. And then you kind of go into this fight, and then they're fighting, and then like almost pretty quickly she beats him, and he thinks that he's dead, and all of a sudden he's not dead anymore. So like all these things are happening because he does die, but she keeps bringing him back. And then and then so they continue fighting, and then he dies, she brings him back, and that keeps going, because each time that he comes back he keeps getting stronger, because he's limiting himself less and less, because he remembers losing, but then he thinks that he's like blacking out or whatever. And then you kind of go into the backstory between them. But yeah, like this episode was amazing. You figure out like why he's as strong as he is, and then why he's not stronger as well.
Yeah, with Kenpachi, if you ever go back and see it from the beginning, Ramon, you'll see that he does things to suppress himself or give his opponent like a little bit of a like, hey, like for example, he has a hairstyle in the beginning of Bleach where he has bells in every one of his like little like pointing things, haircuts, and the reason why he has that is so you can hear him coming. Like he wants to let you know,
that's crazy.
I'm coming, so here are my bells, so you understand where I'm at. He does the eye patch so he can suppress his power. He's technically stronger. He fights holding his sword with two hands, but he's always just holding it with one. If he was to do it with two hands, he would be twice as powerful, but he's always only fighting with one hand. So it's like you always have this idea that he just wants to be fighting and wants to look for the best opponent to fight him, and he's always bleeding out, and people are like, you should be dead now, but he just continues to like keep living and keep pushing forward. So it's just like, dude, this whole idea that by when he met Unohana, he just had this like almost orgasmic experience of like, hey, I want to continue to do this for the rest of my life, and he purposely like made himself weaker so that she would live. Fucking crazy, dude. I love that so much, and it's just like one of those twists that I freaking can't get over.
So you guys just found this out at forever, like the first time ever, like this story?
Yes.
I read
That's
the manga,
crazy.
but it was fucking in the manga.
Yeah. Well, sucker. Because no, I did feel a little like weird, right? Like watching it, because then I'm like, this is such a great story. And again, this is the one episode, or at least this part of the story in the battle episode, that I would like to give it to someone and be like, here, watch this. And they're going to be like impressed by it, because you don't need to know the history. I mean, it sucks because again, Euro had like seen this and I just kind of jumped into it right away. Then now I want to go backwards. But just like, seeing that was freaking crazy, because it's that flashback story alone was crazy, especially the scene where with the girl, like her aide or one of her soldiers says like, damn, you killed a lot. There's that pile. And she's like, what pile? And she turns around and it wasn't hers, right? And it was Kenpachi, like as a kid. And to me, I'm like, holy crap. Because then, yeah, like you guys said, right away, put it into like the seriousness and the level of how strong he is. And just from that one beautiful battle, like they gave me all the answers, which again, I was still impressed. It still had a lot of significance. I still kind of understood what it meant because of the severity of the real fight in like present time, right? Because she's clearly pushing him to his limits, basically trying to teach him to like fight without those restraints, and then ultimately she dies, right? So like to me it was still significant. I can't imagine have gone through all that and then finding that out and being like, holy crap, like holy crap.
Even when you find out that they never trained him to the fullest because they were always scared of like, what if he turns on us, like how are we gonna like put him down? And like he wants to fight everybody, dude. Like if he could fight, he would fight all the captains just to fight him. And there's like a filler arc where he does fight Bakuga, and he's always like, I've always wanted to fight you. So they have like that interaction with one another, but he is all about the battle. And like, I think as long as you give him battles, he's always going to be like happy and not really turn against anybody.
Did he ever fight Ichigo?
He did.
Yeah. Okay.
Damn, yeah. But it was earlier Ichigo, before Bankai, before I think it was before he even knew the name of his Sanbakuto, right?
That was the first time we get to see Omen. What's his name? Omen Sengetsu, and like he's actually, I would say he's the reason why he was able to, because he beats him, and it's kind of like, okay, that was kind of like weird because Ichigo didn't even have a Bankai. But I think Omen Sengetsu at that point gave him like super like one shot power to like take him down in one shot. And they both almost killed each other. Actually, both of them almost killed each other. So the thing about Ichigo, anytime he's almost close to dying, it's his hollow form that keeps making him like continue to live.
Yeah. Because that was the first time that the hollow mask almost kind of like manifested and all that stuff.
That's
like his hollow form.
Or if somebody like was to stab him, and it's like, oh, you didn't get stabbed because the hollow mask was like he would pull it out and be like, wait, where did this come from?
That's awesome. Yeah. More stuff I gotta watch. I mean, and then I guess like kind of towards the end of this season, like other things that happen, it's like I was kind of like a little confused too when the Zero Squad, like those guys came out and they took freaking they took him and the other guy they were funny to me because I'm like, wait, there's still more people, like more like super strong people, and then explaining a little bit of that story about how they're like even older.
If it makes you feel better, like the whole Soul Society King and Zero Squad was something that like went past me. Like even to like start actually reading and seeing them, I was like, okay, this is a thing. So don't feel bad if like they caught you by surprise, because they caught me by surprise. Because like I guess I never understood that was Sasuke Aizen's plans to go to like go and kill the king. Yeah, and I never knew there was like a Zero Squad, but I guess there was mentions of them. So like again, I was almost like you, Ramon. Like it was just like, oh shit, there's more, and they live up there, and there's a Soul King. Okay.
This is Soul King and that Zero Squad makes me think of like Power Rangers because I'm imagining the freaking Soul King like Zordon, and then this is like
it's almost like Soren actually. Now that you mention it,
that's hilarious.
Oh, that's hilarious.
No, but I mean, those guys were pretty cool. Like I did like seeing them. I did really. I mean, obviously seeing when Ichigo and what's the other guy's name? The other guy that went up there with him.
Renji?
Renji, yeah.
Renji. Yeah, like seeing them and having to travel from island to island, like each one of their like little planetary islands was kind of cool, right? Again, I knowing that obviously they're good, stronger Soul Reapers and they have all this history and they work right underneath the Soul King. I assume they were like freaking amazing, but seeing just how amazing and kind of what kind of weird quirks they had that really helped. And the reason why they really took Ichigo and Renji up there, like that the guy with the freaking long hair and he's like a healer,
and he's super fast. He's the fastest.
Yeah, he said that, and then but yeah, you know, Ichigo is like being able to like freaking do all that and just explain the whole like healing and how that the hot springs heal there. Like all that was cool. The one girl with the food and how like even when the one guy saw her down there and he's like, "Who are you?" And then she's like, "You don't recognize me?" And I'm like sitting here thinking like, what did she look like? And then you saw her later because cooking exerts her energy and then she goes back to her older self. And I'm like, I see now.
Dude, those have to be the biggest moves in anime that I've ever seen. I'm sorry. I'm just going to say it.
Yeah. Dude. Like, so a big, if you ever watch Black Clover,
yeah,
it's so inspired by Bleach. It's crazy. There's a character in Black Clover too that like her whole thing is like eating, and then she also cooks, and then she like whatever she cooks, it builds up your magic again or whatever.
Yeah, that's
like I mean that character's kind of now seeing it like it's based off of this one.
It kind of sucks that we didn't get to see the other ones, but I did appreciate the one that makes the Sampa toast. Like I thought that was really cool. Yeah.
Well, that whole like journey that he made him go through, and I thought it was kind of funny because what are the Sanbakuto names before they turn into Sanbakutos?
Oh my god,
Irachi.
Yeah.
And just like, when he throws them down there at the pit, and then he's like, "Oh, those are like Irachi or whatever the word is for like mad. Before." And they're all like mad, and they have to fight him. And then where's when freaking Ichigo gets sent back to Earth because like he couldn't cut it, and then even that kind of confused me a little bit because again, I didn't know why like he wasn't.
Nobody knew. We didn't know he hurt. We didn't know his mom was a Quincy, no.
Yeah, so then and that led to that. And then I think that was beautiful. So yeah, that guy was cool because, clearly is the guy that he forges all the Sanbakutos and all this stuff, and that was pretty crazy. But then of course that led to that beautiful story about his parents. And again, here I am giving all this stuff right away. Like, here you go, watch this beautiful thing.
I know. Dude, like I know when we watched Jujutsu Kaisen, we said that like, Ro, I think one of your complaints was like they never slow down to give you some breaks or just kind of like slow the pace down. To me, those episodes called like Everything But the Rain, like the first one and the second one, dude, like they were so well needed to move the story forward in a very like slow, emotional, like big payoff kind of moments. Like I really, really love them. I never have like the mentality of I'm gonna get some words tattooed on me, but I love the name of that episode, like Everything But the Rain. Like I'm even still trying to figure out the meaning behind it. So if you know the meaning of Everything But the Rain, tell me right now because it would blow my mind. But like even that, just something about it just means something to me, but I can't understand exactly what it is. Everything But the Rain.
I'd have to watch it again because I mean, which episode is that?
That's the last two episodes. They're both called Everything But the Rain, Part 1 and Part 2, with Ichigo's mom.
Dad. I mean, I wouldn't even know what the real thing would be, but the only thing I could think about is the whole episodes had rain, right? And it was always raining. And I think like what was the focus was the parents and their love, like kind of like their connection. So to me, it was just about that. It was everything but the rain because the rain was constant and it was always pouring and it was crazy. But I love that story, man. It's just, again, being like new to this, but then given that whole delivery was amazing because like you saw, go ahead.
Because I was going to say, the only thing that I caught today was in the reel was that old man Sengetsu says that he hates the rain because anytime that Ichigo is sad, it rains into his world. So he hates the idea of Ichigo being upset because then it starts pouring immediately. So he hates the rain. So I don't know if that's like almost a meaning for him to be like like do everything, like do whatever you want, but don't give me rain. So it's like, I don't know. Still, like, again, I'm trying to find meaning to this episode, like everything with the rain.
The only thing that I because when you say something like that, the only thing that comes to mind is not even from this. It's from Full Metal Alchemist when Mustang after the colonel or the major like spoiler after the major dies and then he's like crying and like he brings up like something about like it's raining or whatever, but like he's actually like crying because he died or whatever.
But it wasn't raining, and he is like it is raining.
Yeah.
I did see that already, so there you go.
But anybody else I hadn't seen it.
Yeah.
But I mean, you even got more of Ichigo's dad, because you don't really get a lot of it in the show. You get senses of him, but he's being more of a dad figure. But like, I mean, you even saw that he was a captain, Ramon. So did you like that?
Yeah, no, that was really cool. Like, I mean, I love the idea that for me it started like that, right? And again, I kind of didn't know a whole lot of the backstory. Even just through the videos that I watched, I did see kind of how the dad was like living this human life. But then ultimately, I think one of the things that kept on coming up is like, why is Ichigo so strong to begin with? So then I think ultimately it just popped up in one thing. So I had an idea, but again, just this story and the way that I was told it was even better, because you did see kind of what kind of like respect he carried already. You saw his like personality and character. Like he was kind of like, you know, like, oh, I'm gonna get away with this. Cool, I'm gonna do this, and you know, I know I can get in trouble, but I don't care.
Dude, Ichigo hates his dad. Like, it's always like almost calling him out for being such a fool.
Yeah, that's hilarious. That makes sense though.
Well, yeah, because the dad always acts like super immature, and he's always like trying to fight him and like trying to do like the like surprise him with attacks and random stuff like that.
Oh, dude, and FYI, Ichigo has sisters. You'll see them, but they haven't really done much with them. But FYI, he has like siblings. Yeah.
Okay. I think I remember seeing something like that, but again, they seem so insignificant, or at least not important right now, that it's not a thing. No, I mean, but I did like that story between him and the mom. And again, to be kind of given this from the beginning, it was still very significant to me to find out that he then was like part Shinigami, like part freaking Quincy, technically part human because of the proxy, the dummy, and then just part the fact that and then hollow,
part hollow, yeah, because of what happened with the mom and the dad.
Yeah, and so then I'm like, dang, I'm like, so no wonder this guy's gonna be strong, or has been as strong. And again, I haven't seen that journey, but I already know he's pretty much a badass. And
Go ahead.
Well, that hollow that attacked the mom, is that the mask that he wears eventually?
Sort of. Like, I mean, when he becomes like this ultimate looking hollow, when he fights Kyoria, which is like the number 4 Arankar, like he sort of becomes looking exactly like that, but sort of, not really 100%.
That was awesome too. And then just knowing that even that hollow was like a special grade hollow that Aizen created, and all that whole thing was just like full of juice and stuff. And
because Aizen drops hints at Ichigo, like kind of like, I created you, or I have something to do behind you, but I never understood that. And I guess like now you understand why he's able to even say those things, because Aizen was kind of behind this whole experimental thing with his mom.
Well, to me, it was more about the
white.
The white hollow. I was like, the white. No, and then, but like even more so, the Quincy Lord during this season was throwing hints when he was fighting Ichigo, and he said something about like, you don't even know like where you're coming from, or like your history or something like that. And I was also really perplexed about that. And I'm like, oh, is this something that I missed and I got to rewatch or look up again? And then to find out later that basically because he is part of that like higher like Quincy bloodline, technically he's like directly related to him, because that Quincy guy like created all the Quincy's, or like, is that something like how it goes, right? So he's technically a creation of his through bloodline. That's crazy. Like sorry, the whole thing is just, again, being thrown into this mix is great, but man, I just want to
it's almost like you need a backstory for him, because I still don't even understand how Captain Yamato wasn't able to like kill him, or what they keep saying like you didn't finish him off, and like you almost want to understand like how he's this Jesus persona, and he kind of like created all these Quincy's, or why his blood is so special. But again, maybe something that, you know, eventually, I mean, if there's an explanation out there, I don't know it, so please give it to me.
Yeah.
Yes, somebody give it to Carlos.
The explanation, Raul, the explanation. But
That's what I mean.
I don't know. I don't know if I can talk about the last episode without also turning away and like not crying, Ramon. But like the last episode, honestly, man, to me, it meant a lot because it's a kind of like a payoff to like Omen Sengetsu saying goodbye to him, and then that one song starts playing as he's about to like like pull his new swords,
It's
Sampatos.
kind of like the Kurama.
Yeah, like the idea that like everything,
Bleach.
all the water evaporated, and then it's just like, oh my god, it's so freaking cool. It's almost like that. I'll make you proud. It's just that's what the sense of like I got from it.
So I mean, obviously, like I can see with you guys the connection with it more. But like to me, the one question I have for you guys is like, so is that basically Old Man Sugetsu saying that he's no longer needed, or he's just why is he disappearing per se? Because he's been in his because he got a new Sambato, right? That's why.
Yeah, I believe so. Like technically, all Sampatos have like a manifestation of what you're able to see what they look like. You don't see them. Like I think you see Renji's, which is like a kind of like a chimera looking monkey.
Yeah.
And you've seen other ones, but not all of them. But yeah, I don't know if we'll get another interpretation of what his Sampato looks like as a manifestation, but it's something that they all technically have that.
That's cool.
Well, with Ichigo, they said that his Sanpakuto was really like the Arankar part of him because
One of them,
because Sangetsu wasn't really Sangetsu. That he has like a different Sangetsu that wasn't that manifestation. And that was part of what was like presented to him. But like the reason why what he thought was Sengetsu was really the hollow form. That was saving him.
Because there's a filler arc where all the Zapatos technically manifest into like what they look like, Ramon. So I guess if you want to see what each captain's manifestation looks like, you could go to that episode. But just FYI, there's some captains that double wield swords, and each one of them does represent like if this is my right sword, her name is Vicky. If this is my left sword, her name is Diana. And when they manifest, it's like you get two of them. So it is like, so Ichigo also could have like two of them in one hand and one with the other.
That's crazy. Yeah, and then just seeing him have the dual wielding at the end, that was pretty cool too.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, anything else you guys want to talk about? We did it. I'm so proud. I'm glad that, I finally can say that we've talked about Bleach because I freaking love Bleach, and the new season's coming back, so we'll be talking about it some more. But anything else that you guys want to like bring up?
Nah, I mean, for me, just thank you for dragging me in this because now I'm in the middle of it and I don't know how I'm gonna. Well, I don't know how I'm gonna start it and when I'm gonna finish it, but I won't be able to quit it. That's for sure.
It's just one of those things that I kind of mentioned too with Bleach. It's almost like a Naruto thing where they set all these like big ideas and they weren't meant to be pay off in like 10, 20, 30, 40. They're like, no, these ideas are gonna be spread out. And we're finally gonna get a finalization of all of them in like 500 episodes. And like I think most shows are like thinking like, well, we might not go for multiple seasons, so we really got to give it to you all right away. Because I haven't really seen a lot of shows where, like, some of these payoffs happen, like, way, way later. I feel a lot of them are more, like, rushed, or there's really no, like, plot twist. Like, with me, specifically with Naruto, like, I never thought Obito was alive, or let alone that he could be Madara, or, what's his... Yeah, Toby. Like, Obito could be... Toby, like, I never thought Toby could be... Obito, and it's just, like, that blew my mind away. Same here, Ramon, you get some of these twists that like blow your mind, and there's still a lot more coming. And that's the thing. Like I feel like some of these like anime shows, maybe Jujutsu Kaisen will have some nice twists, but I just feel a lot of these new animes, they don't have these crazy twists that will take you years to finally pay off.
Yeah, and then and not well. If you ever do watch Bleach, you're gonna see all the inspiration that Bleach also has on all these other animes, because I'm guessing like as we do it now, we say like, oh, this is the Sasuke or character, this is the Sakura character, there's the Orochimaru or whatever, and you're gonna start seeing that with Bleach too. That like you see other animes like Black Clover is a perfect example of like how it's inspired by Bleach, or some of these other like animes that they're inspired by Bleach as well, or by some of the characters or storylines or whatever of Bleach. So it's really cool to kind of see out there once you actually start watching it.
Ro, I make you a promise right now. One day we'll make Ramon watch one season of Black Clover so we can talk Black Clover. I can tell that you so badly want to talk Black Clover, just like I wanted to talk about Bleach. But hopefully, Ramon, now you understand why I have this passion for Ichigo and why he means a lot to me. And I just kind of like love the character because, again, he's kind of like Itadori. He doesn't really want to be the king of anything. He just wants to like be a good guy and protect people. So I love that about him.
Mhm.
Yeah, I got that. Yeah, it's a cool dude.
Cool, dude. All right, well, we'll leave it with that with cool, dude. All right, you guys have a good one. I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.
Peace.